Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah everyone. Welcome to this new video on our channel Need Tajweed, where we strive together to improve and to better our Qur'an recitation. In this video, we'll be focusing on the recitation of At-Ta'awudh, which translates the protection. This At-Ta'awudh is the name given to the dua that we recite before we open the Qur'an. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. I seek refuge, I seek protection in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from the rejected, from the cursed shaytan. This is of course a commandment from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we find in Surahtun-Nahl, chapter number 16, verse number 98, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala clearly mentions فَإِذَا قَرَأْتَ الْقُرْآنَ, when you recite the Qur'an, and this is where the commandment comes, فَاسْتَعِذْ بِاللَّهِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses the imperative tense, just like if I was to tell a student of mine to ijlis, to sit, iqra, to read, uktub, to write. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, ista'idh, seek protection, commands us to seek protection in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in Him, from the rejected shaytan. So this is a commandment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and inshallah throughout this video we'll be practicing the letters that make up these words and trying to recite them correctly, inshallah. We start off with the first word of the dua. We have four letters. We have the hamza, the ain, the waw and the dhal. A-u-dhu. Notice how the waw simply attaches itself to the ain. It attaches itself. There's no vowel sign, there's no symbol on the waw. All its function is to extend the sound of the ain. A-u-dhu. A-u-dhu. So we start off with our hamza. The hamza is generated and articulated from the throat and the furthest part of the throat, so in the area of the vocal cords. And they separate to let the air out. A. Notice it's not A, and it's not E, and it's certainly not A. Yeah, so these sounds are different from the ain. See, the ain comes from the throat as well, but just higher up around the region of the epiglottis, which is in the middle of the throat. That's where our ain is generated from. U, which is the next letter. Here we have A. We keep it light. A. Then we have our ain, U, which comes again from the wasatul halq, the middle of the throat. U. Notice that my lips are protruding out completely. U. A. U. A. U. It's not A-u. I haven't distorted the sound of the hamza because the ain is slightly more challenging and more difficult. The hamza is in its place, A, followed by the ain, U. A-u. We then extend the sound of the U with the waw that is attached to it. Notice again that the waw doesn't have a sukoon, it doesn't have a vowel, a fatha, dhamma, kasra on it. All its function is to extend the sound of the ain. So mad al-tabi'i, U, so a natural elongation of the ain. U. A-u. 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 A. Then we're going to the dhal. Notice here, this is a dhu sound, a dhu, which is the tip of the tongue with the lower part of the two incisors, the two teeth. So it's just touching the tip of the, so the tip of the tongue with the tip of the two incisor teeth at the top. Dhu. It's not a zu sound, certainly not a dhu sound or a dhu sound, not a zu again. Dhu. Dhu. My lips protrude out. Dhu. Dhu. And then the word together. A-u-dhu. A-u-dhu. I'm pausing just for the purpose of the exercise. A-u-dhu. So three distinct sounds. A, a'udhu. Notice how the lips stay out after the pronunciation of the hamza. A'udhu. The lips do not return. They stay out. A'udhu. We then have billahi. Billahi. What makes up this word is we have the ba that has a kasra on there, followed by we have here the alif, which has the head of the sad on there, wasl. Hamzatul wasl is called Hamzatul wasl. We're not going to go into the detail of this in this video. We just want to simply focus on the recitation of this. When we see a composition like this, we simply ignore the alif, we ignore the lam, and we go straight from the ba to the most closest voweled letter, which is our first lam that is found in the shadda. Billahi. Billahi. B, our lips come down. B, followed by the joining with the second lam in Allah's name. This is of course our lam at-ta'rif that we ignore. Notice there's no vowel that exists on the first lam in Allah's name. There's no symbol, there is no fatha or dhamma or kasra on these letters. We simply ignore them. Here I explain that a shadda, this W sign, consists of two of the same letters. The first letter being a sukoon, so a silent letter, a non-voweled letter, and then the second letter of the shadda is a harf mutaharrik. It is a traveling letter. It carries a vowel sign, so a fatha in this case. This of course equals, instead of writing two lams, the Arabs simply replace the two lams with a shadda. So we have one lam, the shadda represents two letters. The first letter is a sukoon, the second letter is a fatha. We have a la sound. We then have this alif where we extend. Sometimes in Allah's name we will find a fatha. In the Qur'an we'll find a fatha. Of course, Allah's name is the only name in the Qur'an where we extend the fatha without the mad that is present. Yes, so Allah, Allah. We always extend the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's always a mad that's attached to it. Although it is written Allah in the Quran, we stretch it with mad tabi'i, so a natural mad, Allah, as we'll see in the next slide. So here we have our ha. Again, our ha is generated from the throat. And then the area of the vocal cords here at the bottom associated with the hamza and the ha. So we have here he, carries a kasra, he. So this word together, billahi. Notice how the lam is light in nature. In this case, in this scenario, we have a kasra before the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we keep Allah's name light. It's not billahi, billahi, billahi. We then have the two words together. A'udhu billahi. A'udhu billahi. Again, just going to recite it slightly quickly. A'udhu billahi. A'udhu billahi. A'udhu billahi. We go on to our third word, our mi. Our mi, of course, a portion of the meme is generated from the nasal cavity. However, it's not complete. It's not me. that generated entirely from the nasal cavity. So there's two functions. So it comes from the areas of the lips and of course the nasal cavity. Mi, mi, mi. We have the meme that has kasra followed by a noon that has a na, mina, 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 and we form the word mina, mina, and then we have three words together. A'udhu billahi mina, a'udhu billahi mina, a'udhu billahi mina. Okay, now we join our mina, our noon, with the sheen. Of course, again we ignore the alif here or the hamzatul wasl. We ignore the lam. Notice there's no symbols, no fatha, no sukoon, no shadda. We simply take the noon from the word preceding this word, which is the noon from mina. We join it with the sheen because that's what the shadda demands. It demands a connection with the nearest voweled letter, which in this case is not the lam, it's not the alif, it's the noon found in mina. So we have a mina sh. We join with the first sheen, shaytani. So again, this is the word shaytaan. We've dissected it. We ignore the alif and the lam. We go straight into the sheen. The sheen, of course, in shaytaan has a shadda that's attached to it. A shadda, what does it represent? It represents two of the same letters. The first one carrying a vowel, the second one in this word carrying a fatha. So we have a sha sound. Sha. We then have the sheen that joins with the ya, gives a shay sound. Shay. We have our ta. Now the ta it's not shayta, it's not a ta, shayta. So what happens is the tip of the tongue with the root of the two incisors. So we're keeping the tongue in the mouth. We're keeping at a high degree, so the tip of the tongue is at the root of the two incisors, and we're keeping the back end of the tongue high up to create this po sound, a heavy sound. Po, 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 nice and heavy. It's not a ta, shay, ta, a po sound, po. Of course, we have here the to, and then we have the alif al-khanjariya. It's called the dagger alif. When we see this small alif on a word, we extend it to its a natural count, mad tabi'i, which is 2 counts. Shay, to, nice and heavy. We end this word with a kasra on the noon, ni, nice and descending sound, ni, which forms the word shaytani. Of course, we put this into our sentence here, our dua, which now consists of 4 words. A'udhu billahi minash shaytani. Notice how the noon connects with the sheen. We ignore the alif and we ignore the lam. Yeah, so the lam at-ta'rif, we ignore it because sheen is a harf shamsiyya. It belongs to the category of letters where the alif and the lam are ignored. Yeah, so a'udhu billahi minash shaytani. Notice how this sound, minash, this sound. This is a sifa called at-tafashi that belongs with the sheen. Yeah, so a'udhu billahi minash shaytani. That's where we've got to. And finally, in this dua, we have here rajim. Of course, I'm ignoring the alif lam. However, if I was to recite this word independently, I would say ar-rajim. Ar-Rajim. But because what I'm doing is I've dissected the words that form the dua to individually, so we've got a better understanding of how these words join, or how these letters join with each other for the purpose of our exercise. So we have here the alif and lam, which we again ignore. We go straight into the ra, which carries a shadda. So a shadda again is the first letter is a sukoon. The first ra is a sukoon, while the second one carries the fatha, which gives the ra sound. Ra. There's our sukoon. Then our ra, we release it with the fatha, ra. We then have our jim, G, which is generated from the middle of the tongue with the middle of the upper palate. Ja. In this case, of course, it's a G. Try and bring your mouth downwards in a descending action. G. We then extend it just like we did with the U in the first word of the dua. A'udhu. Here we have G. The ya extends the sound of the G. It elongates it, and we're going to stop on a mim sukoon. And because we're making this stop, the length of this mad is longer than the u. It is the 4 count, so mad arid as-sukoon. So here we're joining the sound G, we're extending the sound of the G, and we're connecting with the final sound in this dua with the mim. Jim. So what we have here, Ar-Rajim, of course, Rajim. So now that we put that word in the sentence, in the dua, and we complete the dua with this slide, A'udhu billahi minash shaytanir rajim. A'udhu billahi minash shaytanir rajim. A'udhu. Notice the ba connects with the lam. Billahi, keeping the lam nice and light. Billahi, mina, and then the noon. It's not mina ash-shaytani. That's not the correct way of reciting. Minash, by joining the noon with the sheen because of the shadda that's present. The shadda demands us to connect with the nearest voweled letter that comes before it. Minash shaytani, keeping the ta nice and heavy. It's not shaytani, rajim. It's not pronounced like that. Shayto, to, nice and heavy. Shaytanir, rajim. The noon connects with the ra. Rajim. A'udhu billahi minash shaytanir rajim. Hope that's clear. Again, A'udhu billahi minash shaytani, and then we're connecting the noon with the ra. What we don't pronounce, we don't recite like this, mina ash-shaytani ar-rajim. That's not how we recite the Qur'an. We make sure that the connections are recited and acted upon. Mina ash-shaytani ar-rajim. Thank you very much for joining me. I hope this video was useful. please like and share. And if you have any questions, of course, then please write them in the commentary. Thank you very much. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you all. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.